So everyone, I have been looking at LinkedIn a lot, and I've been helping a lot of people transition careers. A lot of people are changing jobs right now, and people are coming to see me to handle the emotional aspects of uncertainty and the interview process. So I wanted to call upon a very trusted friend, Reese Golchin, who I've known for a very long time, and I trust him greatly. And I love how he speaks and articulates things. So this is why I've invited him. He's got a fancy title. You all know how I speak of my friends who are very smart and they have big titles. I go blah, blah, blah. So instead, I'm going to let him introduce himself. And then I want to talk about what it means to be creative and how to present that while interviewing. So Reese, take it away.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you for including me. As someone who has known and been crazy about you for so long, I'm just so proud. I can barely contain myself, and I'm pleased that you would think to include me in something that's really important to you, and it's important to a lot of people. So I'm glad to be here. Yes. My name is Reese Golchin. For the last 10 years, I've been on the corporate learning and development side in the insurance space, L&D, leadership development. The last couple of years, adding to that, recruiting and onboarding. I've worked in the voluntary benefits space, most recently for Aflac. They are a Fortune 200 company. And I'm really pleased to say that I've actually leveraged the job market that exists right now, which probably factors into why so many people are coming to you, to springboard to a new position. We're still, dotting I's and crossing T's, but very soon I will be heading up early career onboarding and early career development for a very big player in the insurance space. I'm very excited to get started, but I feel like it's that stuff that I do that has seen you ask me to participate in providing some clarity around something that, while people are in the job market, they should not ignore.
Yeah, that, and also our backgrounds. We met when we both worked in film and television. You were an actor always, right? I know you have this whole other space, but I mean, talk about a career change, right? You took those aspects, that creativity, your communication skills, and you successfully moved into corporate America. And I think a lot of creative people that I see are like, what does my resume look like? How do I express or explain to people that I can do this in corporate language? Like, so the first thing that you did was that. So how was that for you personally? And did you get help with that transition?
And that's such an important thing to focus on. So yes, my background is as an actor and a writer, particularly towards the end of my focus on that part of my professional existence. I was writing and producing a sketch comedy show that I was performing with a partner that we would put on live at venues around Los Angeles. And I also had a different writing partner, and we worked on film and television stuff. So I feel like from the perspective of a creative endeavor where you're wearing more than one hat, that's a great place to start. So, a good example is you with your production background, right? Production manager, first AD, producer, right? You know how to manage deadlines and how to ensure that all the stakeholders in any endeavor know what their roles are and what they have to deliver and when. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if that's for a short film, a low budget feature, a television pilot, right? It might be a different proscenium, but in corporate America, yeah, deadlines matter. And being able to deliver on those things, and more importantly, ensure that every one of the players involved knows what they're doing. Yeah, that's a good skill set, right? So I say that as an example. So for me, as someone who, as a performer, I certainly know how to talk in front of people. And by the way, that's not true of every performer. Notoriously, a two-time Academy Award winner, Robert De Niro, is a terrible interview. he doesn't give good panel, as they say in the business, because he's incredibly diffident. He's not a gregarious or outgoing guy in real life. He disappears into his character. But having said that, a lot of performers, a lot of actors, they're good with dialogue, so they know how to talk to people. I had that. And then the writing, I understood, especially working alongside other people, I understood about deadlines. When someone's counting on you, you can't just slough it off. You can't get, mired in your lethargy and, I'll get to it later. You got to kind of put up or shut up. Those two things were what were going on in my life when a friend of mine who worked in the insurance industry encouraged me to get my insurance license because he needed people to work on his team when it came to enrollments. Now, that is an insurance term, but everyone who's ever had a job remembers that day at work when your HR person said, hey, don't forget our insurance people are coming on Tuesday, and that's when they're going to explain all our benefits, and then you have to make a selection. Right. My friend needed someone to do that for his clients. He had big enrollments coming up, so I got my insurance license, and he started using me as a member of his team to basically explain people's benefits to them, right? So that skill set of being able to talk to people, establish a connection, and communicate with them effectively. When I first started, someone had to explain to me like the benefits, how they break down, how people pay for them. But once I got that, then it was just a matter of leveraging the skill set I already had in this other arena and focused it in insurance. So it started with, first of all, a friend who said, I have this career opportunity that I didn't turn my nose up at because it wasn't a part in a movie or something. It was someone I trust who said, I could really use you and you'd be good at this. I think that's a thing to watch for. All too often, people who know, what in their heart they're meant to do, if they are presented with an opportunity that's not directly tied to the thing that is their heart's desire, they might look past it, or they might give it sort of short shrift. And I don't think that is very good use of our abilities, especially if it's someone you trust. If someone who trust, like, says, oh, there's this thing that I think you'd really be good at, explore it, and then ask questions. Like, I had a question for my friend. The first thing out of my mouth was, holy cow, man, what I don't know about insurance can fill the Grand Canyon. You don't know, right? And he said, listen, I can teach you all that. I need you to do the thing that I know you can do, which is talk to people. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I can do that. So I did. I got licensed. It's a regulated industry. I got my license. And then he brought me up to speed on all the things I needed to be able to communicate to people. Then I just started relying on the skill set that I knew I could always count on. Also, to navigate the beginnings of this new career, because whenever you start something new, there are always uncertainties and potential pitfalls. You always want to lean on the thing that you're good at and then ask for help along the way. But the beginning for me was, relying on a trusted friend who said he believed in me to be able to provide something that he could use. And then remembering that I have this skill set. I've just never used it in this arena before, but okay, let's see what that looks like. I didn't want to discount it. And then, the other part of it was timing. It was just the time in my life when this opportunity came to me was absolutely right. And I don't want to discount that, because timing factors into so very many things,
Yeah, it does. I also think it's interesting that people, like, you can have a passion, and what you do for work doesn't always have to fulfill that passion. People forget nowadays you can have hobbies and other things that you create time for by having boundaries and knowing your yeses and nos. And perhaps if someone does recommend something that maybe I like also say, like, you probably know this saying, you plant where you're right. You could be that light in a space that maybe you didn't think you could be. So all those gifts, all those things, what you bring to the table, your personality, who you actually are, can be the thing that makes a difference in an office, right? And how you affect everyone around you. So let's fast forward a little bit. So again, I keep seeing that business nowadays really wants authentic and creative people. Now, I love that word, authenticity, and I'm creative, right? So that's all great. But I think the lens of corporate the corporate community, it's a little different. So
Mhm.
how authentic can you be? What is appropriate? And what does creativity actually mean? And I
Mm.
want to talk about like every single thing about like nowadays, a lot of people working from home, but even how you appear at work. What do you wear? Your hair, your the whole shit and shebang, right? My clients know that I have a potty mouth because I like it. Anyway, so I'm just super curious. Like, I did a stint in corporate America. I was the corporate communications manager at a .com. And I ultimately begged to be fired because they wanted me to lie every day. And I just can't do that. Like, it's my personal, I'm like, you want me to say we're not going to lay off 300 people, but I know I'm in the HR department and they're pulling names right now, right? They wanted me to lead conversations with 900 employees to a way that wasn't honest, right? Because they just it was crazy. It was very .com right before it all blew up. So like
Mm.
what? So for me, it was never fit, and I could not really slow down my articulation enough
Mm.
to feel heard. They were like, "You're just kind of weird." I'm like, "And smart." And effective. And I know how to make people want to work for me. Oh, and I handled that budget of $1 million a week. But yeah, okay, I'm just the weird one. So there's also perceptions. And I'm kind of curious. Like, I know my ego is engaged. So that's a lot there. So start with the definition of what is creative in the world. And then maybe if you are extra, how do you manage that in corporate America?
So you talked about two things, right? Creativity and authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Let me start with what authenticity is not. It's not permission to just vomit, unfiltered thoughts and ideas, and then that can spill into like grievances, like, oh, my boss told me to not hold back, so I'm just going to tell her that. That's not authenticity. Authenticity for me, here's a good example of authenticity, right? Role definition. Okay.
Mm.
Oh, all right. So you're interested in having me join the team. Tell me what your team is about. What do you try to achieve every day? Right. How do you lead people? If someone's hiring me, I want to know what their leadership style is. Example. So in my time at Aflac, I didn't have people I reported to. I had partners, right? Both of the people who brought me onto their respective teams, one in Los Angeles and one in North Carolina, said, don't ever call me your boss. Like, we're partners. Like, I can't do this without you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I live and breathe. And I appreciated that. So authenticity is about establishing, like, well, what are the ground rules and how do I fit in there? And then here comes the authentic part. If there's anything that gives you that disturbance in the force, if it makes the hair on the back of your neck even slightly flutter, then get clarity around it or make a tough decision. All too often, especially, particularly in this country where jobs are tied to benefits. I know that I'm a benefits professional, but I also want to keep it 100. Employer-based benefits are a very big deal. And many has been the person, the worker, that has kept those golden handcuffs on. They've kept jobs longer than they probably should have because, well, the benefits are good. That's a whole separate conversation, but I want to highlight the fact that there are a myriad of reasons why people might either take a job or stay in a job that their instincts tell them might not be the right fit for them. That's where authenticity comes into play. That's where it's so important to know, well, who are the players that are involved? What are the expectations around my role and how it fits into everything else? And then what's the leadership style around here? I referenced my boss, but
Mm-hmm.
really my partner. I can't tell you how many of my counterparts looked at the relationship and the working style that we had, and they were envious. Like, oh, well, I mean, you're the same title as I am, and your boss is the same title as my boss, and he's my boss. Like, I have to kind of communicate like that. And I always said, man, it doesn't have to be that way because that's not the way we operate. If I thought for 1 second that it was going to be an environment where it was very much about the hierarchy and the pecking order, I would probably say, I'm probably not the guy for you. And that sounds like, that sounds like you're being luxurious, like you have the luxury of that. None of us do. It's just about prioritizing what should be important, because if you work full time, you're probably spending more time with the people you work alongside than you are with your family. So it's important to find the people in the environment that you at least understand, at most know your place amongst them and in the organization, so that you can be clear about what the deliverables need to be, what you need to do every day. So that's, to me, what authenticity in the corporate space means. And it's okay to ask for that clarity. It really is. The more and more that we progress as a culture, as humanity, like, look, authenticity today could be about, a cisgendered white guy completely understanding that, yeah, I'm hiring this young lady who is, she's a member of the LGBTQ community. She's going to get married to her fiance, and then, then she and her wife will probably start a family. Like, knowing that, like that is part of authenticity today. Knowing that you're going into an environment that is accepting, that is at the very least progressive enough to create an environment for you to be who you are, to have that level of authenticity. But authenticity has to start with asking the questions, and then don't ignore your instincts. If you get a bad feeling about a situation or a job, ask for clarity. And then if you don't get the answer you're looking for, it's a little easier to say now in today's job market, then keep looking, keep going, because you never know if you say yes to the thing, it's like, yeah, I know that kind of bugs me, but I really need this job. You could be stopping there, and 10 feet down the road could be like the best place you would ever want to find yourself. But you don't know, because you didn't listen to that little voice that said, this is a perfectly fine place. It might not be your perfectly fine place.
Yeah. And it's okay to look. You don't have to tell people you're looking, right? That's a boundary, right? Like, this is what I need to know. This is what I'm curious about. This isn't fitting for me anymore. The culture here is changing in a way I really like, or I don't like, or it's also a part, you have an ability to change the culture of where you're at. And if they are receptive or not, that's your answer. I think people don't look at all of the cues, right? And they give away all of their power. So that's a really interesting way to do it. So when you're doing leadership and development as a leader, right? So when you're onboarding people and looking at what would they bring, how does creativity come into play? Does that mean creative problem solving? Does that mean they have a different way of looking at the world? Or is that fast thinking? Is it all of the above? Is it none of it?
It definitely falls under the all of the above. I will tell you this. So from a creativity standpoint, when you're talking to people, who you're trying to determine if they should take this career opportunity, right? The creativity comes in how you present the career opportunity and finding the potential connective tissue to the candidate. So I will say this, it's been 10 plus years of working in the insurance industry, and there's one absolute truism. There isn't a 6-year-old out there anywhere in the world that runs into mommy and daddy's bedroom and says, I can't wait to grow up and sell insurance, right? And if you show me that 6-year-old, I'll show you a kid who desperately needs therapy. But it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. A lot of people work in it, but none of them are people who ever grew up wanting to do it. So for me, as an insurance industry professional who has been on the learning and development side, I always tend to start with, well, tell me about you. What do you like doing, right? Oh, I'm very good at, organization. I really love to, make sure things happen the way they're supposed to. Or I have great communication skills. I'm very good at talking to people. I love making connections to people. It's important to me to have an impact on my community. Okay. And so as I listen to all that, I'm thinking of, right, if you are organized, then account service is definitely something we need in the insurance industry. Oh, you like talking to people? That's great. Those communication skills are great when it comes to client service. Right? I want to make an impact in my community. Right. Well, then it's about where are you bringing the benefits to and what's access to those benefits look like. I try not to start with, hey, let me tell you why a career in the insurance industry is awesome. And let me tell you the last thing I talk about is money. Now, here's what you absolutely need to understand. People might come to the insurance industry for lots of reasons. One of the reasons why people stay long-term is because if they can find a way to plug in the things that matter to them, the income that they can make is substantial. I've met a lot of wealthy people who they earned it years and years of building their renewal-based income in the insurance space. It's one of the reasons why people continue to, dedicate years to their career and their accounts and their clients. But that's not important to everybody, especially now, right? Mm-hmm. So creativity, for me, especially in the beginning, it's about identifying who I'm sitting across from, finding out the things they're both good at and the things they like and care about, and then uncovering the connective tissue between what we do, what their role might be in our organization or any organization, and then clearing the path for them to take it. Right? Because let me tell you something, many has been the time that I've done stuff like that, only to have somebody go, okay, yeah, I get it. I see the path you're showing me. I'm still going to go. It happens. It happens. But that's the creative part for me. It's about letting people tell me about them. And then like little Jenga puzzle pieces, like, oh, okay, so you do this, you like this, maybe this isn't it, but okay, here's how you can fit right here. And you could be successful doing the thing you like doing, and it will serve our organization.
That's cool. All right. So if you were talking to a leader, mm-hmm. what do you think is like the one thing that they all could do better? We'll keep it in the creative space, right? We'll stick on topic that way, because that could be hard. Because again, once upon a time when I was in corporate communications, a woman came in, I'll just use her first name, Carol, and she scared the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. She was powerful. Her and her husband came into this .com and they're like, you're not running it right. You're top heavy. Da, da, da. They were like cleaning it up. They went on to launch T-Mobile, by the way. I'm like, these two people are like a powerhouse. And I met her and I was afraid of her because I just didn't think I could meet her where she was at. And now 20 something years later, we are still friends, because for me, I had a conversation and she looked at me, she's like, this ain't your game. Like, where you are, this is not for you. You're better than this, than these people that you're surrounding yourself with. This is what's happening at this company, and if you want to stick into something like this, consider blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But she was honest with me, straightforward, and she did training and we had these big events. And during those events, one of her things that stuck with me, she's like, 10% of your force will never live up to the standard that you want. If you fire them, the people will move down and meet that. There's always that. She's like, so instead of focusing always on how to get rid of the small thing that isn't working, how do we empower all the rest of them who are doing well? So, those were my amazing lessons.
That reminds me of that saying where people don't rise to expectations, they fall to the level of their greatest preparation.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that's really good. I tell you what I like from leaders is the direct communication and the open forum, right, for ideas. But also a good leader will first and foremost know that what they should be doing is grooming somebody to replace them. Right? A good leader is confident enough to know that if they pour themselves into the people they lead, one of them is bound to leave, right? A good leader knows that people on their team are going to leave, right? Because progression, career advancement, that sort of thing. The better leaders are doing everything they can to ensure that those in their charge are getting what they need to succeed. Many have been the time that I've told people, do you want my job? If anybody wants my job, raise your hand. Great. Let me tell you everything you'll need to do to get my job or one like it, right? I like when leaders do that. Effective leaders should do more of that. And then also, everybody's got different seats to the circus. I always say this. I say this in my family all the time, right? There are times when I'm front row because it's, my bit of the circus. And then a time when I got cheap seats, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's got different seats to the circus. A leader should every once in a while take the time to go, hey, what are you seeing from over there, right? Because just because somebody is at an entry level or maybe just above that doesn't mean that they don't have eyes on stuff. Doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening and what can be done better, right? So always asking people, if somebody's in your organization, they are a stakeholder. I talk about corporate speak. Who are the stakeholders, right? If they're in the organization, they are stakeholders. They have a stake in the good that's happening, right? Ask them what they see and what more could we be doing? What do you think could be done that would be better? Good leadership is about, so again, make sure everybody has what they need, not just to succeed in the organization, but to exceed and leave the organization. Hopefully they leave the joint better than they found it, but also then they go on to be bigger, better, do more. And then while they're there, value their input. Ask them what they see, right? Because if you do that, then they'll be more invested in the success of the operation, right? Then they're true stakeholders, right? Then they are a part of something that they
authentic.
Feel that there's the authenticity, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be more than the paycheck. It's got to be, if you think people will be loyal to you because you're paying them, you're thinking about this all wrong. People want to feel valued. They want to feel as though they're making a substantive contribution to what's happening and that their ideas can find some purchase. A good leader is going to make sure all those things are available, because let me tell you something, then if a leader's doing that and somebody's not meeting things or they're not participating or engaging, then that person knows this person's not for us, right? Then you have to have a difficult conversation, and good leaders know that those sometimes come. But it's only good for everybody if you give them an environment with which they can be their authentic selves, really participate, feel like they're invested in the outcome of things, and then also give them what they need to move on, to get where they want to go, to find a different role that will make them feel better about themselves.
All right, to wrap up, because I know I want to keep it at a half hour so we can keep people with us.
Got it.
Honor your time. All right. So when people are looking to switch careers or are looking through LinkedIn job posts, are there any keywords that you think should be either green or red flags, or the way information is presented? Is there anything that you think from your experience when people are reading a job description or about a company that should catch their attention?
Well, definitely know this, that wherever you're applying for a job, if you submit yourself and you attach your resume, chances are good the company you're applying to is going to use an algorithm that will filter the applicants based on what is on the information they provide, which almost exclusively is from their resume. So when you're looking for jobs to apply to, look for words that match words that are on your resume, right? Because then you'll know, at least you'll get an interview. Example, I started talking to you by telling you that I leveraged the job market. There was a job that I mean, the job description should have included my name. I couldn't believe it, except it was outside the industry I've been in all these years. So I didn't even get an interview. And then when I called a friend that might've been a back channel, his thing was, yeah, let me know when you get the interview, and I'll absolutely tell everybody there that, you should be taken seriously. I said, hey, Mike, I didn't even get an interview, and he could not help facilitate that. You will ensure that you will get interviewed at a place, if as you're scrolling and looking at jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever, if you see words that you know are either on your resume or reshape your resume so that it says the things that align with the jobs that you are interested in finding, because you want to be able to navigate the software that's out there. And look, it sounds Orwellian, but the truth is they need them, right? The HR departments, the recruiters at these companies, if they had to stop and scan and read everybody's resume, they wouldn't get anything done. They count on this software to put the candidates that have something about them that connects them to the role that they're going to be interviewing for. So as you're looking from an authenticity standpoint, if you see a job, a company that you are interested in working for, or at least being considered, what are the things in the job description, at the company, the specific role that are included, and just make sure those words are included in your list of experience so that you give yourself the best opportunity to be considered for the role. You want to talk to a human before you can do that. You got to get through the screening process. And right now, AI is conducting all the screening, and they're just looking for keywords to match. So that's the best thing to do upfront to ensure that you'll at least be seen, considered for something that you authentically feel could be a place for you to succeed and excel and be happy.
I love that because it's so easily done, right? That's a very easy thing. And maybe probably you're not thinking about that because you want your resume, you want to present yourself in a certain way, but sometimes you got to play the game.
Yes. Yeah. And that's authentic. I want to anything. Don't think of like playing the game as like, oh, I feel like such a phony. No, don't play or hate, play or participate. There's a game, right?
That.
Everyone plays. If you hold your nose and say, all right, I'm going in, right, then at least you're in. If you turn your nose up at it, well, what's that old expression? You'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
100%.
So,
like, I like that. You play the game. Like, I'm not saying to not be you, you're not saying, but there is a process and you can't bucket, right? You're not the one creating it. You're trying to get in. And so lead with your best foot, smile on your face. Reese, thank you so much. You know, I love you. I hope this helped you guys. Let us know in the comments or send a DM and a message and we'll happily reply. Oops.